to end of July and then August.
Okay. Oh, I did my mic.
Yeah, you better get your mic in position. Boy, oh boy.
Mic in position here. But here I can also teach how the right, it's about a fist away. A fist away from...
Yeah, you look like a two-fist away there. But anyway, I'm not going to say anything.
Close enough.
Close enough.
Close enough. That's the word. So we have a great show lined up for you this morning, as you can hear.
Good
It's
morning,
Xavier,
Alex.
myself. It's Xavier. Good morning, Xavier. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
So we are here. It's a good day. Looks like a
is.
beautiful day. We're gonna have some nice weather.
Yeah, it's going to be,
Days.
I woke up early this morning because believe it or not, I had to water the garden because it was so warm yesterday. It's supposed to be warm today. And I'm out there, it's 45 degrees. My fingers are like freezing on the
Yeah,
water
why do
thing.
I have the
And I'm saying to myself, crazy, 45 degrees, and then it's going to be like, what, high
82?
70s? Oh, 82
No, today's
today?
82, tomorrow
Wow.
84, Saturday 86.
Unbelievable, yeah.
And then next week the high is 50. It's gonna change rabbits. It's amazing.
Yeah.
We always did one of these. I've heard it like the false fall, and then
Yeah.
there's always
well,
that
they used to call it
crazy-
the Indian summer. I'm not sure where that phrase came
I have
from.
no idea.
But this, that's.
There's always that
October,
last one that
Yeah, the last hurrah.
little hurrah of hot days, and then it gets chilly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, who do we have today? 'Cause you
Today,
know that.
it's going to be a great show. We're going to be joined very shortly in the show by Megan Blevins. She's the owner of Center Yourself Holistics LLC, doing, massage therapy, aromatherapy, so
Ooh,
many different things.
That
So
feels
it's-
good already. I'm
know, so
relaxing
it's-
already. I like that.
And she comes highly recommended to our show. We can talk about that
Okay.
a little later. But it's going to be a fantastic show. We're excited to have her on. Going to be joining us shortly. Later in the show, we'll have a little finance talk.
Absolutely, yes.
I know we've got some.
I got a few
some
thoughts.
GDP numbers, investment grade debt. If you don't know what that means, Xavier will explain it to you, and so forth. So we got a lot to cover on this week's show, but it's gonna be a blast. Be sure to send us any questions, comments you may have. Tell us how much you love our guest. Tell how much you love Xavier. He needs people to tell him that every once in a while. He doesn't hear it a lot.
Oh man, I think they bring me here just to beat me up a little bit once in a while.
I
It's
always
like a
get my
punching
marching
bag.
orders from Nick.
Oh,
He's
is
like,
that Nick?
Here's what you should say today. Here's how you should bother Xavier this morning.
We could throw him under the bus today. Okay.
Exactly. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Xavier. We're very excited to have you joining us this morning on a beautiful morning
Yes,
here in
stupendous.
Charlottesville, Virginia. It's beautiful right now. It'll be hot later. It'll be that last.
It's like you wake up, you got to put something warm in the morning when you get up, and then in the middle of the day, you just, it's like in the office, right? It's
Yep.
cool in the morning, and you open up the windows in the afternoon because it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Well, it reminds me back of my old PVCC community college days where, I had the 8 a.m. calculus class.
Oh, yes.
So we would go in at 8, I'd be freezing, and you needed, it was in January, you'd have the winter coat.
Yeah.
The thing. But then the problem was, even in February and March, you would have these days where it got warm.
Yeah, because if the
Or
sun,
in the fall,
if it's a beautiful sunny
yeah, exactly.
day.
It's a beautiful sunny day. It would get hot, so I would just be lugging around the whole campus with the half day with the sweater off. But first, all you can do is carry them around. They don't fit in the
there's no-
backpack.
that's right,
So the
yeah.
word November, October, November, and then March, April was oh my goodness, I'm freezing in the morning and hot
I know.
in the afternoon.
I know.
And
That's,
I
it's
love this
it's
stuff
crazy.
around.
Think about it. I mean, this morning was like 43, 44, and it's going to be in
gonna
the
be
80s. You
82.
said. That's 40-degree difference. That's
It's a
that's like
huge
desert. That's in the desert.
Yeah, well,
You know?
because it's becoming drier.
Yeah, I guess so.
Here in Charlottesville. So, but still, always a good morning to grab your
Always.
cafe con leche. Today you can go ice. You can go warm in the morning, iced in the afternoon.
There you are.
can do
You
a
have
little
two
both.
café con leches
You have
today.
two café con leches, which is always a good thing. There's never a reason not to have two café con leches. And so it's going to be fantastic. Of course, big thank you to Emergent Financial Services, our presenter this morning. Of course, big thank you to our great partners, Matias Young Realty, Credit Serious Insurance, Castle Hill Cider, Forward Adelante. We got a lot in store for you. We're going to be joined shortly by Megan Blevin. She is the owner of Center Yourself Holistics LLC.
I'm looking forward to this.
It's very much so. Later in the show, we'll talk a little finance. Xavier and I will give you some thoughts on. I mean, everything. We'll try to do everything from GDP
There's a lot of
credit card
as you know,
debt to investment grade debt. Companies.
I could talk a long time
Xavier
about
could talk
that.
a long time. We could have a 3-hour show.
Yeah.
No one will be watching
I'm
by
not sure.
hour 2.
I'm not sure
but-
Judah would like that, but anyway,
Judah would be asleep, and then no one would be watching anymore.
He'd leave, go get lunch, come back, and it's like, oh, they're still
Look,
here.
they're still here. They're still talking. So but we won't do that to everyone.
No.
We won't do that to everyone. I got a couple people tuning in already. Dr. Elizabeth Irby watching the show this morning. Thank you. She's the best. We have also Monica Miller from Montana joining us this morning. Thank you, Monica. It's always a pleasure to have you here. So it's always fun to have you joining us in the morning. So we're looking forward to, be sure to send any questions, comments you have. It's always going to be, it's always a great day.
It is. It's
when
always
we're doing
a great
some
day.
Today
Yeah.
Mañana. So I don't know about you. I'm excited to jump right in.
No, me too. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So let's do it. So we're excited to welcome to the show this morning Megan Blevin. She is the owner of Center Yourself Holistics LLC. Megan, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are y'all?
Doing well. How about
Fantastic.
yourself?
I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome. Johnny Ornelas, thank you for liking and sharing this morning. Great.
Amigo del
entrepreneur.
programa.
Amigo del
Yeah, we said
programa.
our Spanish word.
Amigo del programa. He's owner of El Mariachi in Zions Crossroads. He's going to open a new restaurant in Charlottesville soon.
Wow,
So looking
nice,
forward to
nice.
that. So Megan, tell us a little, for those who haven't met you yet, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe how you first became interested in kind of the massage therapy, aromatherapy, that kind of field where you're in.
So I have been licensed as a licensed massage therapist here in the state of Virginia for 2 years. And I've had Center Yourself Holistics open for 1.5 years in my current location, which is at Zions Crossroads.
Oh, okay.
I got interested in massage therapy about the time I got pregnant with my daughter. I ended up being a single mom about the time she was 3 months old. And I was like, I need a career. So my mom recommended massage school, and it kind of went from there. And then the aromatherapy stuff, my ex-mother-in-law actually introduced me to essential oils. And that's how that all kind of started as
okay.
well.
Interesting. So, you kind of
So do you use that along with the massage? In other words, when you are giving people massages, is there like an aroma going around the room also?
I do. Most of the time I do peppermint because it has so many benefits.
Okay.
And it also helps keep germs down, so it's a great thing to use like in the winter time. It smells great too, of course.
Yeah, I love peppermint. Yeah, I know.
But so I put that in the diffuser, and
Okay.
that's going. But then you can also add on an essential oil add-on to your massage. So I'll put that in the oil that I'm using. So whether that be coconut oil, grapeseed, whatever. And so all of them have different uses and benefits. So whatever you're looking for is kind of what I add in, and we go from there.
That's
wow.
That's really
Wow.
interesting. So when you kind of are working with someone and on the aromatherapy side, so is it different aromas? It's not the aroma that they want to, like, it's not Xavier saying, I love the smell of peppermint. Is there an actual, like, if
What's
you're
wrong with
looking
that?
for this kind of health benefit or you're dealing with this problem, a certain essential oil can assist with that?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
So lavender is going to be great for relaxation.
Right.
Helps assisting with sleep and stuff like that. Anything that's like orange, lime, citrusy is going to give you an energy boost, and whether that be physically or in your mind clarity. Peppermint, like I said, is great for immunity. It also opens up your airways. So it's great for when you're doing massage and you start getting all like clogging and things start moving around. It opens that up. Eucalyptus is the same way.
Right.
Tea tree is really good for your skin. So everything's got a really good use. There are some essential oils that have contraindications, which means you don't want to use them topically or ingest them. So you kind of have to be careful with people's like health history and stuff like that.
I got you. So, because I mean, one thing about tea tree, because I've smelled the oil, it doesn't really have a very good aroma. Is that, do you kind of mix it with something else? Do you put that on the person's body when you're massaging? How does that work?
You can always mix essential oils. For the most
Okay.
part, again, you have to be careful with what you mix, but you can always mix tea tree with like lavender or eucalyptus to get a
Gotcha.
little bit of a better smell. So,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
I had no idea.
Now,
all these different-
when people come for a massage, is it that they'll come in and say, gee, my back is tight or my shoulders are tight, or do you kind of like look at the person and say, let me see where you're tight?
It's kind of a mix of things. So I have clients who come in who are like, I just want to relax.
Okay.
So that's a full body, neck, shoulders, legs, that kind of thing. Then you get some people who come in, they're like, I slept on my neck funny, can you fix it? So you do that like spot treatment. So some people, it depends on how long their session is too. I would do back work, shoulders, neck, and so that everything kind of like stretches out and you have that room to work with. So it all just depends on the person.
Absolutely. One of your big fans is watching, Elizabeth Erpe, watching the show this morning. Thank you. She says, Megan has saved my back pain. Love her. Thanks, Megan. So you have a big fan.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Watching this morning. So how did you decide, I'm curious, how did you decide to sort of take this experience you had in massage therapy, right, and aromatherapy and so forth, and say, all right, I'm ready to sort of branch out and start my own business?
So my daughter has some underlying health issues, and she is my motivation for everything I do. And so I needed flexibility to be able to take care of her. And so that was, starting my own business was kind of like, hey, that gave me the flexibility for that.
Right.
So it just kind of all worked out, and that's where I went with it.
Wow, that's really inspiring.
No, it really is.
That
It really
you
is.
do
And
so
and
much.
how's that working out? I mean, because we always talk about that. You know, sometimes one has a passion, so you might love to massage and do all the things that you do for people to make them feel better, but then you got to run a business. So how does that work? Is that
For me, it's kind of hard,
Yeah.
not gonna lie. I'm more into it for helping people.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like I suck at doing the like administrative stuff. So thankfully to my mom, she helps out when she can.
Fantastic.
So yeah, my mom has been my biggest support through all of this. So she helps out where she can. I have a friend who helps out where she can with like kind of keeping me organized. And I do have a life/business coach who is like, hey, get on your stuff and do the things you need to do to grow and get caught up on paperwork. So I'm totally appreciative for her, by the way.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, because that's
It's always-
important. Because sometimes one thing about running a business is that those are the little things you don't like to do sometimes, and you just put them aside.
them
But then
off,
what
yeah.
happens after like 6 months? It's like it then becomes overwhelming. It's like, oh my Lord, I got to spend like 3 days on this, right? So
Yeah.
if you really say, listen, every Thursday afternoon or Wednesday morning or Saturday, whatever day, I'm going to spend 2 hours just catching up for the week. It's very helpful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And great that you have a great team around you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To kind of put that together. I think so many of the entrepreneurs we interview are like, yeah, my team is kind of what helps me do it. It's a lot of work.
It is. Yeah.
There's that flexibility, which is fantastic. But you work hard for that flexibility.
Yeah.
You know, which
Yeah,
is
exactly.
which is really important. So I know we've talked a little bit about, the massage therapy and what's kind of the range of services you offer? Like what are some of the different things people have come in for and be like, okay, I can kind of assist you in this realm. And you can take it as broad or as specific as we know back pain, obviously.
So I like to tell people I specialize in relaxation and pain management. I really don't do a lot of deep tissue. I tend to, if I have a couple clients who come in and request that, I tell them absolutely not on your first session because I
Yeah.
want to dive in and see what's there. But a couple of clients, if they absolutely need it, I'll do it. But other than massage, I do sound healing, Reiki, aromatherapy, herbalism, and body contouring.
Wow.
So the list
That's
is
a
very
lot.
long.
That's a lot.
So
Tell us,
what-
I'm curious, what are sound therapy and Reiki? I'm curious what those are.
So your body runs on hertz and frequencies and stuff. So I use a set of Tibetan singing bowls that are tuned to each of the 7 chakras. And these bowls are used for a meditative state. So they're like little tiny bowls that fit in your hand. And they're made of, I believe it's, I'm going blank on what I'm looking for now.
A type of ceramic or something?
No,
Or?
they're like a metal. I'm totally, I'm totally blanking. My bad.
Titanium.
Yeah.
And so when you like
You
ping
use a
them,
little, you just ping them, and then you can like get the
Oh.
vibration started and circle around it, and they make these like sounds. They are the coolest thing ever. I love it.
Interesting.
So and then Reiki is a, wow, this is really bad. I'm blanking.
It's okay.
It's energy work, and it's a meditative. It helps you get into a deeper meditative state and relaxation.
Okay.
So it's a combination of relaxation. Do you find those two things intertwine, the relaxation with helping people with pain? Like, are they
Yeah.
kind of, because I know sometimes when I've experienced back pain, you can get that cycle where like the back pain makes you a little anxious and the anxiousness gives you some back pain. So there are ways to like reverse it where the combination of the two will help more than one or the other separately?
It's getting you relaxed is automatically going to help release muscle tension. So it all just ties in together beautifully, and I'm awful at describing it, but it all works together. And
That's making sense to me. Yeah.
So I had a question on that when you mentioned deep tissue. So is that basically so there are some times where you just have a particular pain that's constantly always there, and you have to figure out, whether I don't know what is it that you're looking for when you say deep tissue?
Deep tissue is what it's a firm enough pressure that tears the muscle fibers.
Oh.
And so it relaxes them, but it also tears them. And so it promotes blood flow and
Right.
regrowth of muscle tissue. A lot of athletes will use it. It's just, I have fibromyalgia. And so with doing the deep tissue, it takes a lot out of my body, and that's why I don't do it.
Oh, I got you.
Got
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
That makes, because I would imagine it must be
Yeah,
a,
you must,
a
yeah.
way more intensive process.
Yeah, and it's a very deep and slow process, because if you dive into muscle tissue too fast, it actually can bounce back on you and tighten up even worse than it was when you walked in the door.
Oh, wow.
That
Okay.
makes sense. And I would imagine for a lot of people coming in for like the first time, or with dealing with some kind of back pain or something, that's probably not the initial issue that they have. They may have other things that you kind of want to go through first.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to be able to assess what's going on in your body. You may tell me that you're having low back pain, but actually a lot of people's low back pain comes from their glutes being too tight.
Interesting.
So you kind of have to just go in and see where the
Yeah.
tension is, and because there's referral pain and all that kind of stuff, and nerves get pinched in places you wouldn't think they do.
So, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say. So are there any? Because sometimes you go and you get a massage and you feel really good, and then you go back to work. Because my always issue is right around here because of the computer, and you're constantly going like this, so you get that tension. I
Yes,
guess
then you go back to work and do the same
Yeah,
thing.
so basically you go back to work and 2 days later, boom, you still got the same pains, right? And so are there any exercises that you kind of recommend for people to do to help alleviate certain pains, or whether they're having issues?
Yeah, after every session, I send people home with stretches,
Okay.
because that's going to help elongate your results from your
Yeah.
massage. And of course, people who end up on desk work and doing computers and stuff, they always end up in that like crunched up
Yeah.
motion. So making sure you move throughout your day is going to be a big thing to help out. But finding a door frame that's about as wide as your arm stance here, putting your elbows at a 90-degree angle and leaning in is going to open up the pecs, open up the top of the shoulders, and then also coming back from the door frame is going to open up the scapula area, the shoulders, stuff like that. So it's a really good one for you
We
guys
gotta
if you're sitting
remember
in
that.
the desk all the time.
I can remember that.
thank
That's
you.
good. That's good.
That's really good. That's
That's
really,
what I need.
Do not forget that. Do not forget that. We need to
Every
remember
day at
that.
3 o'clock, boom, I'm going to have everybody, come out. We got to do some
gotta
door
do
work.
this.
Come to door stretches.
Exactly. Heather Benson, thanks for watching this morning. Moni just says good morning from snowy Montana. Yes, I'm sure, it's much colder there than it is here.
It certainly is. Well, they got
For-
some blizzards out
They
there or
got some
something.
blizzards out
whatever
there, so
it was.
makes us even more grateful for the fact that it's going to be 82
80
today,
degrees today, yeah.
in Charlottesville. So I'm curious. So what's kind of the process? Someone walks in for the first time, or gives you a call and says, "All right, Major, I have this or that, or I want." What's kind of the process of the very first time that someone walks in, where you try to figure out what's going on and
So you have to go through their medical history is the biggest thing. So I'm going to ask you, is there any contraindications, any medications, any recent falls, surgeries, that kind of thing. My space, I'm a sole practitioner, so I'm able to kind of walk them through on how I do things. Hey, all these overhead lights are going to turn off. We're going to start face down as long as you're comfortable. I'm going to step out. You undress to your comfort level. I'll come back in. We'll start with some really light effleurage, which is really light strokes. Kind of get a feel. It takes up to 3 sessions for somebody's body to really get used to your touch. So you, of course, don't want to just dive in.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of talk them through the process if that's what they want me to do. But if I can get you snoring, it means I did my job right.
Oh, okay.
So, and then we kind of go from there, and I check in for pressure preferences just to make sure they're okay. And I guess, that's
That
kind of
makes-
how we,
yeah.
that's just kind
Well,
of
it's
how
good
we
to
go.
have introductions. I
Yeah.
think some people have never been to a massage. I've never been to a massage session before.
Which too?
So you need to know, okay, what does that even look like the first time? Did they start doing something right away, or Or so you kind of like walk through, I guess, hence the holistic.
Yeah, just walk you through. And
Approach.
like, of course, I want you to be comfortable. Because the worst thing is for you to come in and be super nervous. And of course, if you've never had a massage before, a lot of people come in nervous.
Yeah.
A lot of people just are like, I don't know what to expect. Especially in our industry, you have places that aren't the most professional, and
Yeah.
people are afraid of walking into places like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just making sure your client is the most comfortable they can be. And most of the time they get off the table and they love me anyway. So, you know, of course being comfortable is great. So
Exactly. Do you ever actually get some that will actually fall asleep?
yes,
On you?
all the time. All the time. I love to hear my clients snore. It is the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's gotta be, like, the pain is going away, and you're very
You're
relaxed.
super relaxed.
You're so
It's
relaxed.
great. So, and then I'll
start-
wake you up enough to be like, hey, is the pressure okay? Or hey, we need to turn over. And then I just let you go back to your nap time. It's fine.
Oh, that must be amazing. That must be an amazing feeling.
So you put all that lavender and spearmint and lavender, and it's like, you go in there, relax.
Yep.
That's
It's even
gotta be
extra
good.
bonus points if I can get you to drool. So
Oh, that's funny.
Matt Blevins is watching today. He says hi. He says Megan has put him to sleep on the table before. So we have verification. We have verification of this skill for sure. So out of curiosity, how often do people actually combine several different services and say, you know what, I would like these two things together, whether it's Reiki and
Reiki.
and massage or aromatherapy and something else. How often do you have like distinct clients that only want one thing versus saying, okay, it may be best for you to have several things at the same time?
it's all just depending on the client. I
Yeah.
have a couple who combine things. I have a couple who are just, hey, I just want my massage and I want to go home.
Yeah.
So it just all depends. Most people in my business, though, will just do massage. And a lot of them will add on like hot stones or cupping with it as well. But yeah, most of the time it's the nice
Just-
massage and they come in. Yeah.
Cupping, is that where you going to put the cup on their back
the
or
suction
something? The
thing?
suction
Yeah,
thing?
with the suction thing.
Oh, really?
So there's a couple different versions of it, but I use the ones that has the pump, so it does the suction.
Okay.
There's actually like when you go to an acupuncturist, most of them still do like the fire cupping.
Yeah.
They put like rubbing alcohol in the cup. They switch it around, light the cup on fire, blow it out, and put it on your back. I'm too afraid of lighting my office on fire, so I'll stick with my suction cups.
Absolutely.
And so what does that? So what does that do? Because I think it was my wife once. Yeah.
Well, plus Michael Phelps, I remember I've seen the swimmer one time, like
Oh, really?
his whole back was full of like suction cup holes.
Yeah.
Well,
So
not
my-
holes, but
so-
like, you know, the rims of where he had been suctioned. What does that do for some?
It breaks up fascia, breaks up muscle tension, and it also can pull impurities through the skin.
Oh wow!
That's
Okay.
incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing.
and it's not supposed to be painful. So if you ever find somebody you want to get cupping from, it should not be painful.
Yeah.
Oh, when it's done right.
Yeah, when it's done right, it shouldn't be painful. You're gonna leave, with your bruising on your back. But
Yeah,
they
you see
shouldn't
that.
be. They should not be painful.
Because I remember Mom, the one time she did the acupuncturist, right? And the first time I went with her, and she had a couple of needles, but then they put the cups, right? And all of a sudden, I had to leave the room, come back, and literally she's like sleeping, nice and comfortable. And I got out, and then they took all these things off, and I was going, "Holy cow!" They got all this stuff on her back. I'm not saying anything, but she loved it. It was just like these cups all over the place, had candles. It's like, okay.
Wow. Well, Matt says he highly recommends cupping to his fitness clients. Is it just athletes use a lot to kind of break up some of that
Yep.
tension?
It really helps with breaking up that muscle tension.
Wow.
What are things? This is really you don't know the answer. You may not be maybe understand. Just something that kind of occurred to me in today's age, where I think a lot of us are more sedentary, a lot more office jobs. So, what are like the most common things that people come in for and need some help with?
It's definitely going to be because so many people are doing desk jobs now. They're
Yeah.
working remotely from home. You end up in this crunched up, so it's going to be your neck, your shoulders, your upper back.
Yeah.
But you also have a lot of people who are doing manual labor who end up with low back pain. That is going to be like a huge thing. And I have seen a couple people who run. So of course, like everything from their waist down is tight, like IT bands, hamstrings, all of that. So those are probably the three biggest things
That
that I
you're
have
seeing.
seen.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because you feel it. Just I think over
No
the
doubt about
course
it.
of
Yeah.
days, and I would say you even feel it in the cycle of weekday to weekend. Like I'll just feel like by Friday, extremely tight. And then Saturday and Sunday, I try not to use the computer at all because I'm like, I've been staring at this computer screen way too long. And then by Sunday night, you're feeling way more loose, and then it just starts, and you can literally feel the cycle because of the time that you spend.
See, I'm like that. You know, my back. I mean, my shoulders feel great by Sunday night, and then by that time, my back is stiff from all the
gardening.
All the guard work. So it's like, and then I go to work. It's like, oh, my back's feeling better now.
Yeah, and I've heard that. I think I've read in some places that our cores are not very good.
Yeah.
At core strength, which then puts pressure on like everything else to do that. And I love that you give the exercises. I think, and Elizabeth had mentioned that that's one of the things she appreciates most is that you kind of give people, here's what you can do to help.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, to help with the process, you know, even from the times between when you're actually getting a massage.
Yeah, because I love seeing my clients, but I know that, you know, massage therapy can become expensive, especially because a lot of insurance policies won't pay for it and they don't reimburse for it.
Yeah.
So anything I can do to keep you feeling better between your sessions, absolutely. That's what I'm here for.
On that vein, we do have a question from the audience. Janice Boyce Trevelyan, thanks for watching this morning. She asked, on that vein, do you accept insurance, or is it just a matter of whether the insurance company will put it?
I'm in the process of working on being able to take insurance. I do take FSA and HSA as of right now, but I'm also able to write you a receipt that you can submit to your insurance company that they may reimburse you the full amount or even partial of it.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm working on it. It's just, it's a process.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's awesome. So FSA
And
HSA. So if you've got those accounts.
That's actually good. That's very good.
It's a great way to use that HSA. Financially, HSA is also a very good thing to have.
Absolutely.
And then, in the process of insurance, but you didn't do the receipts.
Yeah, but I can do the receipts.
Like the old days. That's what used to happen in the old days, right? You go to a doctor, they give you a receipt, and you submit it to the insurance company.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. It's only the modern, what would you say, in the last 20, 30 years where
exactly.
it changed
into
that.
Yeah.
Oh, Megan, this has been absolutely fantastic. I've learned so much.
I had another question.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
I think it's.
Oh, it escaped. It escaped.
Well,
you have
relaxed.
time.
You have time.
I just you have until Megan answers this last question. To think about. No, where can people, like, let's say someone's interested, they want to get in touch, either online, phone, or something. What's the best way to reach you?
So you can find me on Facebook under Center Yourself Holistics LLC. I have a website. It's Center Yourself Holistic. There's no S. LLC.square.site. Okay. Or you can call my phone or text my phone. Texting is actually preferred, not going to lie. But my cell phone number is 434-305-2992.
Oh, that's actually an easy one to remember.
Yeah, super easy.
305-2992 with a 434
434 in front. Absolutely. And then from the Facebook page, very easy to get to the website as well.
Yep.
I know because I did it. So if I can do it, you can do it. So Center Yourself Holistics LLC. You can see that and it's been tagged on all the Today Mañana pages, and it's streaming live there. So you should be able to then click straight to the right place and go from there. Did you remember your question?
Well, that's what I remember. It wasn't a question. It was a comment. You know, when we were talking about doing the exercise, one of the things that happens though is like, you know, you're told what to do, and you just don't do it for some reason, right? It's like you do it for like a week and then you forget, right? Because, I mean, let's face it. I mean, I go to the chiropractor, and he tells me things to do, and it's like once in a while I do it, and I realize like I spend 2 or 3 weeks, I don't do anything.
I'm also guilty.
And it's so easy. It
takes
like a minute.
He mentioned to me once, he said, think about it, if you went to the doctor, and the doctor said, take this pill. Like, you know, you have a bacterial disease, take this antibiotic once per day for the next 10 days, right? You would do it without rest. You would not forget. You wouldn't be like 7 days later, oh man, I forgot to take my antibiotic for 3 days, right? He says, and yet we'll give you these exercises, and we're telling you, if you do this every day, your back pain will be a lot less, and you won't have to come see me once a week, right? And we just forget.
I know.
We're like, oh man, I'll add that to it.
No, exactly.
But it's so important to actually do the exercises that Megan and people like
I'm
you
going to try to
give.
truly remember that. I'm going to put that on my Outlook at 3 o'clock, boom, to stop.
do that.
Yeah.
But my last thing is, though, water.
Drink water.
Water is going to be your most important thing after getting a massage. It's
Oh.
good for you anyways, but please drink water. please.
Okay.
And what's that after a massage? What's that?
So your body stores toxins in its fat cells. And when you receive massage therapy, it flushes those out and puts them into the lymphatic system.
Okay.
Well, if you don't drink enough water to flush them, your body acts like a sponge and it soaks them back up, and that's what can cause your post-massage soreness.
Okay.
Oh, how interesting.
Didn't know that.
But drinking
That's,
water too is going to help keep muscle tension down in the first place. It's a preventative thing.
That's
So-
amazing.
So water, people, water.
I'm so glad we had you. I've learned so much today.
Does that
I feel
work with wine too? If I drink a lot of wine, does that? No.
After your massage, I tell everybody the
No
water
alcohol.
in your wine, your tea, your liquor, whatever you drink, your water in that does not count.
Oh.
It has to be water, and you can add
Plain water.
additives to it to give it a flavor, but water.
Okay. All right.
Water, not wine. and Matt,
Now
on
people
that
can-
topic,
people- wait a minute.
Matt says that's why people hire me. I keep them on track with doing the exercises. So I see a lot of people I do are like, I need to just pay someone to make me do these exercises. Awesome. Oh, well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Megan. Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much
guys.
for
Thank
coming
you, Megan. I
on.
appreciate
Thank
it.
y'all. It
Yeah.
was great. I really
It's
enjoyed it.
been a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on. And so as we
Well,
rotate here,
so there's
that's
two
it.
exercises that I now have to do, right?
Two. Do you remember
right?
them?
Yes.
What are they?
They're on the door. So I push against the door. It's to help these here, and then
pull
pull
back.
back
Pull
to
back.
help these back here, which is the ones that I need.
And
right?
drink more water. I am very guilty as charged on the water. I just do not.
No, I'm
drink enough
pretty
water.
good. I mean, I don't drink a lot of water, but I'm pretty good at drinking water. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just.
It's just that I drink it like in gulps. Like I'll just drink like
You don't.
the whole
like,
glass,
one
boom,
blast
done. Yeah.
And then,
Otherwise, I forget. You know.
oh man, that's definitely one of the more informative ones.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I,
it is.
I feel like I can take away a lot of things that I can
Absolutely,
actually go do. And
Yeah, and of
That's
course, getting a
fantastic.
massage probably is not bad, especially if they
that's for sure.
get a massage. They put on that aroma thing and
Oh, yeah,
the cups, and you fall asleep for a half an
That
hour.
sounds it
Wake
does
up
sound
and it's like
beautiful.
you're energized.
Yeah.
Let me tackle the markets.
Wait, I wonder. I should have asked. I wonder if they can do like both. Like put lavender and then fall asleep, relax,
And then-
right?
then-
and then like do the switch to citrus halfway
citrus.
through, so I like come out energized. It's like, oh man, I'm energized.
They can do
now.
anything. Hey, they can do anything in
Yeah,
today's
just-
world. Absolutely.
It's wonderful and just really so inspirational. You see, like the beauty of entrepreneurship. I mean, here she is working hard, being a single mom, and like getting things
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
And being and helping so
Well,
many
that's
people.
that's the beauty of really having your own business,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
it
you know,
really is.
I mean, sometimes events in your life or circumstances in your life cause you to create your own business, and maybe it's not a business that is going to like grow tremendously, right? But it's a business that helps you, right, do what you need for your family, and at the same time make some income. I mean, it's great. I mean, it's like I said, small business owners are fantastic people.
lifeblood.
They really are. Yeah,
Lifeblood
the
of the
lifeblood
economy,
of
for
this,
sure.
the lifeblood of this economy.
Yes, indeed. Isn't that the truth? Speaking of this economy,
That's why I say.
it's always funny, right? To have, I love when we have to do finance segment like 2 weeks in a row. It's always amazing to see what happens between finance segment 1 week to finance segment the
The
next.
next week.
Because you and I obviously we're worried about, we see certain things in the economy
Yes.
that don't exactly please us, right? But then you'll get like a 4.9% GDP number, and I go, oh well, that's not so bad. But then of course, it's funny, on the same day we get 4.9% GDP number, you and I are then diving into other things and saying, oh man, well that's not good, or that underlying thing isn't good. So it's just funny to how I think people, let's face it, we would all love if there was like one economic number that if this number was good, you knew the economy was good, and if this number was bad, you knew the economy was bad. But it just never, that's not how it works. There's so many signs. There are leading indicators, meaning you see X happens, and then typically 6 months later you get recession. There are lagging indicators where X happens means you had a recession 6 months ago. You started recession. Recession is one of those classic things, right?
Right.
You only find out after it happens.
That's
like,
right.
oh man, we were in one, right? And so it would be beautiful if we had just one thing, but it's not how it works. And none of these things ever lines up perfectly. You will have leading indicators saying, oh man, it's coming, it's bad. And then you'll have leading indicators saying, no, everything is going to be rosy. It's going to be great, right? And they all happen at the same time. You're like, well, 9 times out of 10, this is a bad sign. But what if this is the 1 out of 10 times that it's not, right? So just, there's so many different data points. And that's why I think that's why we now always tell people not to time, because you can't just look at a couple data points and say, yup, this is it. It's going on hill. Let me sell everything and be in cash for 6 months, and then I'll go back in at the perfect time. It just never works that way.
No, absolutely, and we've always said that what happens in the economy doesn't always translate to what's going to happen in the markets, right? So it's important to keep an eye on what's going on in the economy, what are the repercussions of the things that are happening, right? But I think it's more important to focus on what is going on in the markets, right? And I think if you really dig deep into certain sectors of the market, they tell you more about what's happening in the economy than economic numbers sometimes, right? And so I think that's what we do most, is like look at what is happening within all different types of markets to give us an idea. It's like this is beginning to look like X, Y, and Z, and therefore, do we want to be in this sector, or do we want to buy this sector, et cetera, right? And I think, this has been a very, and I know I touched upon it a little bit last week, but the last 2 years have been a very interesting year, especially in the fixed income markets, right? Because they've really, they've provided more information as to what's going on and opportunities than the stock market. And that doesn't mean that, the stock markets themselves also, you look at, small cap values, small cap stocks this year have been hammered, right? You look at all the clean energy stocks, which you would have expected to have done well, and they've been hammered. Even just yesterday, 2 or 3 companies said they need to look at their financials again, and so all that is hurting that whole sector, right?
Think about how many people in January of 2021 would have said, we're about to enter one of the worst 2-year periods for clean energy.
Exactly.
Just complete collapse in clean energy ETFs.
Nobody. I don't think anybody, right? And so the equity markets themselves have had, sectors that have done very, very well, sectors that haven't done well, sectors that have done awful, right? So those sectors also, you need to review them, right? Constantly to look at and say, is that an area that is now a sector that is looking good, or is that a sector that you look at the finance and say, this is still troublesome, right? But just going back to the fixed income markets, I'm just going to give you an idea, right? So in other words,
fixed income is bonds.
Fixed income is bonds, right?
First time.
And as we've mentioned a million times, when interest rates begin to go up, bond prices come down, right? And so the beauty about bonds, of course, is that if you buy, for example, let's say you buy a 5-year bond and it's yielding 2%, you got 2% coupon. You're going to get that 2% every single year, no matter what happens to that bond price. In other words, that bond price may go down to like 95, as opposed to, because old bonds, let's say they sell at 100. You buy at 100, and when it matures, in other words, at the end of 5 years, you get back your $100, right? In between, it could go down to 95, it could go down to 92, it could go up to 103, whatever it is. At the end of 5 years, you get your money back, right? So somewhere in between,
it'll always come back.
Something happens to the bond, right? Which may look like you're losing money, but if you hold on to it, you get your money back, right? So that happens across the board in all the sectors in different bonds. But here's an interesting statistic for this year, right? So we're entering the year. Interest rates have, they rose last year very, very rapidly, and as we mentioned, from a perspective, the whole bond market was down 14%. That means every single bond, and I'm talking about investment grade bonds, which these are bonds.
These are not risk. These are not your dangerous bonds.
These are not what they call high yield bonds, which are not risky bonds of small companies. These are big companies.
United States Treasuries.
Exactly, right. So that was down 14% because again, rates rose so quickly, right? And we came from a level of 1% rates. So there's no cushion. You got 1% coupon, and rates start going up to 2, 3, 4, 5%. That 1%, cushion is gone very quickly, right? So you had that kind of market. So you're coming into this particular time frame this year, and you say to yourself, well, if rates have risen that dramatic, eventually the small companies are the ones that are going to be challenged the most, because if you're a small company, and let's say you got a loan, you took out a bond, right? You issued a bond, and at that time you issued at 7% because you're a small company. You can't issue at 3% like a Costco or P&G or whatever those big companies are, right? So you issue at 7%, right? Now all of a sudden, if you need to refinance that particular loan, you're at 10, 11, 12%. Yep. That's a big impact.
Remember, a lot of companies do that. In other words, when companies borrow money, let's say a company needs to borrow $10 million, just as an example. Oftentimes, it's not as though, so they'll issue a $10 million worth of bonds, right? and even if it's 3-year bonds or 5-year bonds, it doesn't mean that at the end of 5 years their project is done and they don't need the $10 million anymore. What often happens is they refinance, meaning say, all right, I create a new bond for $10 million that I use to pay off the old bond, and I keep it going because my project is still ongoing, or I need to do a new project now.
Absolutely.
So it's not as though a company issues bonds and then the bond ends, they have all this money now in their pocket, they pay the bond back, and they're like, okay, now I'm done, I'm in a great. They kind of need to consistently renew these bonds. So it's not an option for a lot of small companies to be like, oh, that's okay, I'll just pay it back and not borrow anymore.
That's a great point. That is a very good point. And the fact that the majority, if not, I'm not going to say all because never 100%, 90%. But the majority, yes, the majority of companies just refinance. Mm-hmm. They never pay off their debt, right?
Yeah.
And
they
think
pay
about
off one batch with new, but
right,
they're always
exactly.
doing something
Yeah,
more.
but I mean, they just reissue the particular bonds. And think about it. I mean, the majority of companies also borrow money in the short-term market, which is commercial paper, and that is on a continuous basis. Yeah. So of course, what they're looking for is if there's an opportunity to go long. In other words, I want to borrow long, I want to borrow more, so I don't have to come every single day and borrow. Yep. That's what they're trying to do, exactly. Right? So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So, however, coming into this particular year, right, one of the things that would have been concerning, or that you say to yourself, what's the challenge for this year, would be that high yield bonds are going to be challenged a little bit more than investment grade bonds, treasuries, et cetera. Well, as of yesterday, to give you an example, the treasury market as a whole, meaning all treasuries, right, was down, I think, about 2%. Corporate bonds, investment grade corporate bonds of good companies.
Big companies,
down 3%. High yield bonds are the ones that are the riskiest, up 4%. So, in other words, you come into this looking at what is going on and saying this can happen, right? Mm-hmm. So you sit there as a portfolio manager and you say, here is a situation where that, in other words, you can't continue. The nice thing about bonds, it's math. So that can't continue forever. Exactly. You have now had a fantastic year in high yield bonds. You had a fantastic year in floating rate bonds. And you need to start saying to yourself, what do I do with that? Because next year, there's a probability that you're not going to see that. If you already have these other sectors that have had negative returns, there's a good chance that next year, your particular sector may begin to suffer. And think about it. Yes, the economy this particular quarter looked very good, right? But you still have some challenges, right?
Oh, absolutely. And let's face it, the third quarter ended September 30th.
Right.
October 1st, every single student loan holder in the country began to have to pay.
It's an excellent point.
It ended right before every single student loan holder.
Yeah. So one of the areas that did very well in the third quarter was really services, right? But so people buy more insurance, they're buying other services, et cetera. But some of the things they were buying, right, including prescription drugs, those went up a lot. So yes, from a perspective of the economy, it went well, but you're buying things at higher prices, right? Mm-hmm. So eventually that can be challenging, right? The thing that concerns me the most is that you're entering a period where you have tensions in the Middle East. You still have a war going on in Ukraine, right? Mm-hmm. You have
hard to believe gas prices will decline at this point. There's not much of the strategic reserve left to dump. I mean, we're down to 17 days. So
well, it's not just us. Globally, we are. I looked this up the other day, and globally, let me see if I have this because obviously I don't remember all the statistics at the top of my head. But from respect of oil prices, the global oil inventories, both commercial and those held in strategic reserves, have collapsed to a multi-year low. So it's not just us, globally, right?
Yeah, globally.
So now you have tensions in the Middle East.
Yeah, our inventories, normally, even if our inventory was low, you'd have strategic reserve, but we've been dumping that for the last 2 years.
But I mean, so are other countries. Yeah. They're strategic reserves, and why? Because every single country did the same thing that we did. Now, inflation was getting out of hand. Oil prices was going through the roof. So
we don't want to look bad.
Yeah, we don't look bad. I want to dump my oil, right? And now we're in a situation where you have these challenges in the Middle East where, the Saudis, Iran, et cetera, anybody who's making oil is going to pump less oil. They already said that, right? So that means oil prices are going to go up.
Yeah.
I mean, are they going to go up right away? They're going to go up in 2 months? We don't know. But if you reduce supply and demand stays where it is, prices are going up. If demand goes down, maybe nothing happens. Exactly. But if demand goes down, what is that telling us? That tells us the economy is slowing down.
Exactly.
Right? So you're the future for that particular, kind of area of the economy and inflation isn't necessarily looking as good as the numbers we're seeing today. So you sit there and you're the Fed and you're saying, economy, wow, the economy's booming. And tomorrow we get the PCE number, right, which is the one they look at. But from the GDP number, it looked like inflation was at 2.9% if you include oil, energy and food, which to me, you have to include it because that's what we use, right?
People actually
and
buy.
They may be saying that's close to our 2% target, right? But my feeling is you may begin to see inflation creep in here over the next quarter or so. And if that happens, does the Fed increase rates again, right? And the third thing I want to say was, you look at the Treasury debt, there's a good chance that our debt going into 2025 will be $2 trillion. We're going to borrow more. And if we borrow more, right, what does that happen to the bond market? The minute that the U.S. government borrows more money, everybody borrows from the U.S. government, and it's the corporations that get hurt, right? Meaning that there's not enough money for them to then go out to the market. So you crowded them out.
Yeah, crowded. So now that people borrow from the U.S. government, when the U.S. government borrows...
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, people buy bonds.
Buy bonds, yeah.
From the U.S. government,
And so what happens is they don't then buy from, especially if interest rates are higher. It's like if I can get a 5%, 6% U.S. Treasury bond, do I really need 8% corporate bond? Maybe not. Maybe that's all I need.
It's an interesting risk. In other words, you buy that 5-6% U.S. Treasury bond saying, well, I don't believe that the U.S. government will ever default.
Exactly.
So therefore, I know that this bond is, for all intents and purposes, a lot of people would say 100% safe.
Right.
Is it 100%? Not really, right? The U.S. could default. But like, for all intents and purposes, people would look at that and be like, I don't think the U.S. government's going to default. They look at Apple or Microsoft and say, well, I don't think they're going to default, but the odds of them defaulting are much higher than the U.S. government.
Exactly.
So by definition, right, if you had to pick between one of the two, you'd say, give me the government bond over the corporate bond. And so the corporate bond might have a little higher interest rate, but is it enough to offset
That's right.
the increased safety of the government bond?
Exactly. And so what happens is if you are now, if the U.S. government's issuance of bonds is so much greater, it begins to crowd out the public sector, which means that the corporations then have to have higher interest.
Higher borrowing costs.
Higher interest means more costs, means less revenue, et cetera, down the line. So again, looking forward, this number is great, right? 4.9% GDP, fantastic, looking good. But you can't, you can't sit on your laurels and say everything is great. No. You got to look forward and say what can happen.
Like you said, a huge chunk is consumer spending.
Yes,
it was up 4% consumer spending.
Exactly.
It makes up about 70% of this number, right? So you sit there and you're like, well, there's been a couple studies that suggested maybe people's savings grew in COVID larger than previously anticipated. In other words, when we were all sitting home doing nothing, is it possible that a lot of white-collar workers grew their savings more than we had previously anticipated, so they have a little more time before they run out, right? Second hand, you're sitting there, credit card debt is now at the highest recorded level in history.
I was just going to say that.
And remember, consumer spending, when it goes into the GDP number, that doesn't care where the spending comes from. So the guy who takes money out of his savings account and spends it, the guy who takes his paycheck and spends it, and the guy who borrows $3,000 on his credit card and spends it, all three of those count as consumer spending just the same. Consumer spending doesn't care where you got the money to spend.
Right.
But we all know if you're doing it off credit card debt, at some point you're not going to do it anymore. Like you can't just keep spending and not paying down the credit card
especially
forever.
At 22%, 23% interest rates.
Right, so at some point that cannot hold. You can keep doing it for a long time, but at some point the bottom falls off of that.
Yeah. And the other area that really helps economies a lot of time is the housing market, right? And as you know, I know they've had here we've from Real Talk, et cetera. I know there's been discussions about that, so I don't want to belabor that. But if you think about it, if you have interest rates that are mortgage rates are close to 8%, if not hitting 8%. That's a big challenge, right? Inventory is not there. And, you look at mortgage spreads, and this is a kind of interesting point from an investment point of view, the way the mortgage market goes. So in other words, you can buy mortgage bonds, right? Basically, they take all the mortgages from little people, they pull them all together, and they sell it in the marketplace. And there's a spread, meaning that if the treasury year let's treasury is yielding 5%, right? And mortgage rates are 8%, right? Somewhere in there, there's a cost of putting all this thing together, right? Somewhere in there is where you can buy, mortgage bonds, right? And so sometimes it's 1% over the treasury, so it could be at 6%. Sometimes it's 1.5%. Well, we're about 1.5% right now. Well, believe it or not, other than, there's been some spikes, like in 2012, there was a spike, believe it or not, in 2008, 2009, there was a spike, obviously, for the right reason. 2020, there's a spike because the economy shut down. And I mean that the rate just spikes and it comes back. But as far as it being that spread for a longer period of time, which we've had now for about 6 months, I mean, you got to go back more than 20 years, right? I mean, so spreads are very wide because... And in reality, you wonder, why is that? Either the market thinks that some of these homeowners will not be able to afford it and somehow or another let go, right? But from a mortgage perspective, from a buyer, right, you're saying to yourself, there's a very small probability that if I buy a mortgage, if I buy an old mortgage, there's a high probability nobody's prepaying that mortgage, who's moving, right? But if I buy a mortgage today, which are the ones that are coming out, 8%, there's a high probability that this person, at the first chance he gets, if he can get a lower mortgage, he's out. Or two, if he can't afford it, it's going belly up. So the spread's widen because now the risk is greater. Right? So all that the market's telling us, right then and there, is that the probability of default risk in the mortgage market in the future is greater than it's ever been, that it's been in over 20 years.
Past,
So that's just saying a lot. Well, so these are the little things that we look for, say, why is this happening? And that's why.
Yeah. Well, and you have to remember one of the reasons home prices increasing, you just said out there, home values may be increasing, and usually that helps people feel wealthier.
Right.
But the problem is, if you're sitting on a home, we've talked about 80% of people, 80% of homeowners in this country have a 4% or less mortgage. So if you're sitting on a home that's gone up in value, but you sit there and say, I can't sell this house and move somewhere else because I can't afford an 8% mortgage rate.
Right.
And since my current one is 2 3/4, do you really feel wealthier? Like, in other words, you typically feel wealthier when your home goes up in value because it's like, man, I can sell this house and made a lot of money. But now you're sitting there saying, well, I can sell this house and have no place to live. Right, so it doesn't help me that my house is worth more.
The value of your home is not cash flow.
Yeah.
Unless you can sell it. And if you can't sell it and you can't, if you can't flip that because rates are higher and whatever you buy, your cash flow is not there.
It's not there. So you don't feel as, I think that counteracts what would normally be that wealth effect saying, I feel wealthier, I'm going to go out and spend more.
Exactly.
So
think about it, even baby boomers, right? They have a big home, everybody's left their nest, and now they're saying, I need to downsize. Even for them, they're saying, wait a minute, I don't have a mortgage in this house anymore, and now I got to buy a house, I can pay cash, right? That's the only way they could do it, right? But if there's a mortgage on it, or there's any form, you're sitting there going, do I need to, do I really want to borrow, right? So, I mean, the challenges in the housing market are enormous, They really are enormous. And we've never been through this before because we never had a situation where rates came all the way down to 2-3% and then went back up. We always had rates. We had rates go from
last time they went up a lot. They went from 5 or 6 to like 15 in the 80s.
Yeah,
they didn't start at almost zero.
No, they didn't.
You
That's
didn't
right.
have 2.5%, 2 3/4% mortgages.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting times.
No, it will definitely be interesting times. So I guess my feeling is, that what I find, great about what we do, right, is obviously, I always talk about it. You got to find the right plan, the right portfolio for your clients, right, and make sure it's like this is the strategy, this is the risk level that makes sense for them, right. But on the margin, there's always a piece that you can say, can we make this portfolio better? In other words, this is what we had back then. So a year ago we had this, and this is what we were able to work with, right? We now have this. The markets have changed. Can we take that portfolio, right, and create a similar cash flow with less risk? And that's what we're always looking for, right? And the answer is yes. I mean, we definitely can. So there's opportunities, right? And so the question is, all right, let's do that. Let's go ahead, keep the same cash flow, reduce risk, and maybe a year from now you say, the risk is so low, but boy, I can really increase the cash flow, right, by putting the risk back to where it was 2 years ago, and everybody's happy, right? So that's the fun part. That's the fun part of what we do, is to looking for those opportunities where you say, wow, this is the opportune time to do this, right?
Exactly.
You know, and again, it's just been the last 4 years, the markets, both on the equity side and the fixed income side, it's just been incredible to be able to really do things like that.
Yeah, it's as hard as it looks from the outside in terms of the bond market declining, your piece of safety declining so much in the last 2 years, the opportunities that has resulted in from a cash flow perspective, dating interest, income, dividends has really improved.
Absolutely. Big time. Yeah.
There's always a silver lining. So you
just
have to be nimble. You just
got to look for it too.
Got to look for it. Got to look for it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fantastic. Enjoyed very much the conversation.
This has
great
been
having Megan on.
Absolutely, it's been a good day.
Great show. Next week, a lot of fun as well. We're going to have on Ben Bettler from Creambrook Farm.
Okay.
As well as Michael Slan from the Oratory Society of Virginia coming back on, joining us once again. So we look forward to that. It's going to be always a great pleasure to have him on the show.
It really is. I enjoy chatting with him.
Upcoming, there's a Christmas at the Paramount concert. I think it's that Christmas concert. I think it's at the Paramount.
Yeah, usually it is.
I just don't know. I
don't know when it is.
Before I incorrectly give information 1 week before he comes on, it is Christmas at the Paramount. It is Christmas at the Paramount.
And when is that?
Oratory Society of Virginia. That is going to be 12/16, so December 16th, 2:30 and 7:30.
Okay.
It's going to be
that's a lot of fun.
There. I mean, that's always a blast.
I enjoy it so much.
I'm sure he'll talk a little bit about that when he comes on next week, and then of course their season next year has some excitement. So it's going to be a blast. Thanks for being on with me.
Oh, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Always fun. Thanks, Judah, behind the camera, always making us look good. Thank you to Emergent Financial Services, our presenter, to our great partners, Castle Hill Cider, Craddock Series Insurance, Matias Young Realty, Forward Adelante. Thank you all for watching. Thanks everyone for joining us this morning. Monica all the way from Montana.
Wow. Of course, it's so snowy outside. It's like, what else am I going to do? I watch Forward Adelante. I watch Today Mañana.
Elizabeth Erpy for sending us this hit in the first place. Dr. Erpy for watching. Johnny Ornelas, Emilio del Programa, thank you. Janice Porsche Trevelyan's, Matt Blevins, all our great guests. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning. Be sure to send us any other great entrepreneurs in the community that you would like for us to feature on the show. You know it's our pleasure to do so. We look forward to seeing you all next week. But until that time, as we like to close it out on the show, hasta mañana.